This doesn't happen very often, but get ready. Love is of source unknown, yet it grows ever deeper. The living may die of it, by its power, the dead live again. I don't get to recite poetry often, but today is an exception because these lines are taken from the Peony Pavilion, a masterpiece of Chinese opera by Tang Jimeng, a contemporary of William Shakespeare. This form of opera is called Kunqu, which takes its name from the city of Kunshan in my home province of Jiangsu in southern China. It was among the first items in the world Kunqu to be listed by UNESCO as a masterpiece of the oral and intangible heritage of humanity. This year also marks the 20th anniversary of the debut of an abridged version of the Peony Pavilion for a young audience, a joint effort between artists from the Chinese mainland and Taiwan. So what draws people across the Straits and beyond to this 400-year-old masterpiece? I was joined in the studio by Professor Teng Jimeng, Senior Research Fellow at the Center for China and Globalization, and online by Cheng Ting-yi, a PhD candidate in Chinese ancient literature at Beijing Normal University. He's from Taiwan and he's a devoted Kunqu enthusiast. But first, let's take a listen to an excerpt of a Kunqu opera. Professor Teng, welcome to The Point. We just heard a little bit, a very short excerpt of Kunqu Opera. Exactly how special is Kunqu Opera? People know Peking Opera, for instance. What's the relationship?
Well, once again, I think that Kunqu has been a national opera back even in the Ming Dynasty and also a little bit of the Qing Dynasty. This is ultimately the national, the pinnacle of a national art form, which features very great singing, quite similar to the lyrical aria in Europe, like European opera by Puccini. I mean, the artist in Kunqu actually reminds me of Maria Callas when she sings these great European materials in the form of European opera. And so Kunqu is known for its singing, its aria, its lyrical significance, as well as these kind of sumptuous costumes, very beautiful staging, and also the kind of costumes that we especially would highlight at this very point.
Well, the story behind this young people's version, or an abridged version, still is 9 hours long, spanning 3 nights. Every book, they call book 1, book 2, book 3. Every book is 3 hours long. But this is already the abridged version for young audience. How did this come about, and how come this was a joint project between artists from the mainland and Taiwan?
Well, the first person that comes to mind is Professor Bai Xianyong, who actually initiated the project from Taiwan, and also joined by artists here, particularly 2 major artists, Yu Jiuling and also Shen Fengying. These 2 artists actually contribute so immensely to the success of this very stage play. As you pointed out, it's very long. I mean, oftentimes like 9 hours, or sometimes even 20. And so in this case, they have to do some adaptation and also abridgment to appeal to modern and contemporary audience. But in terms of the themes, I think the thematic concern is very, very kind of appealing to young people in terms of love, death, destiny, friendship, and perhaps some major decisions in a real life situation.
Peking opera or the other art forms, traditional, have been cast as too conventional or not interesting for young people. But there is this outburst of passion which lasted for 20 years. Today, we still see young people, not just on the mainland but in Taiwan, flocking to see this production, which is sold a month before the premiere, and it's still the case. What is really so appealing to young people? Again, and 20 years on.
Well, absolutely. I think there is a growing interest on both sides of the Taiwan Straits, especially on the part of young people, to read and to delve deeply into this very cultural heritage, this very long-standing legacy of the Chinese nation. And one particular reason I would point to at this very point is that the Chinese cultural authorities have been very committed to promoting and to revitalize the beauty of this traditional Chinese cultural heritage. And almost like sending out a clarion call that we must not lose this very cultural heritage and legacy. And that's the only thing. I think that could be one of the things that joined the hearts and minds, or appeals to the hearts and minds of young people on both sides of Taiwan. And Professor Bai's project actually is evident, is basically provide this living proof that young people on both sides are also, in a sense, very much in love with this very love story. I mean, ultimately, this is a love story among our own race, which we all can, in a sense, delve back into and come up with a sharing idea. I mean, the idea of sharing this very cultural legacy.
I've been told that we can be joined now by Cheng Ting-yi, who is a PhD candidate in Chinese ancient literature at Beijing Normal University. He's also a devoted Kunqu enthusiast. Let's talk to him to have a different perspective. Ting-yi, it's good to see you again. So you are a student from Taiwan in Peking Normal University and studying ancient Chinese literature. That's great. But tell us a bit about Kunqu. Why are you so passionate about this traditional art form? And you sing Kunqu as well, right?
Yes. Actually, I learned Kunqu was from when I was in college, and there is a teacher who is teaching Kunqu, and she was like, "Hey, do you want to learn it?" And I was like, "Oh, okay," because I used to play on stage, but I'm singing the ancient poem, but not Kunqu. So I was thinking maybe the Chinese traditional opera have a more rich tradition to for me to absorb. So that's why I started to learn. And my teacher is very professional, and one is from a really famous performance group. It's called 国光剧团 in Taiwan. And actually, I learned Kunqu it's from I searched on YouTube, and they said, oh, Japan, they have kabuki and they have non. So I was thinking maybe in China we have the same rich tradition opera. So that's when I found Kunqu. Yeah.
How long have you been singing? And can you share with us why it seems that young people in Taiwan also like to watch Kunqu, especially this abridged version of the Peony Pavilion?
Okay. So first of all, I learned Kunqu for 10 years. I'm not kidding, 10 years is a little bit long. And I think Taiwan people like Kunqu Opera is because Kunqu have a very romantic story, and they have very elegant movement and also elegant singing. And I think the Mudan Ting, right? Because people like it, it's not only right now people like it. In ancient times, in 600 years ago, in Ming Dynasty, they have a lot of people really like this Mudan Ting. So I think this Mudan Ting have a very unique, how to say charisma, maybe charisma.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Would you be so kind to maybe sing a sentence or two so that we can get a feel of it?
Oh, totally. So let me see. I will sing the main character. It's called Liu Mengmei, and he will going to sing a lovely song to the actress, who is Du Liniang. He will say, I found you for a very, very long time, and I finally found you here, like this. 几岁小神哪一去 哦，新的就在这里。Like this.
Bravo.
Wow, bravo. One last question, Ting-yi. Do you find it a big contrast to all the other things you may love? Because you look like someone who would do rap, but actually you're doing Kunqu. For me, that's a very interesting contrast. How do you reconcile these two elements in you?
I think like people or human, how to say that? They have to be complex because that is what human made, right? So I may look like doing rap, and actually in morning I just finishing my workout. I was in gym, so yeah, I'm a complex people. So anyway, but it doesn't like influence my love to the Kunqu Opera. Kunqu Opera is really good. In ancient times, you have to do a lot of exercise. They would call it like in Keban, they will do a lot of exercise so they can maintain their body ability to sing Kunqu, because it requires singing and also dancing and also performance. So like a lot. If you don't have a strong body, you can't afford it, right?
Yeah. Great. It's true. Professor Teng, what's your takeaway from that little exchange and seeing this beautiful singing coming from Ting-yi?
I'm hugely impressed. I mean, in this case, it's charming, like you said. It's such a charming way of singing and expressing human emotions. One of the most important emotions, I think, love and perhaps hate. Despair, and as well as the kind of a dilemma, caught in this very dilemma between love and hate. I mean, like Romeo and Juliet, and like our two characters in the Peony Pavilion. It's ultimately, I think, this very humanity that really joined artists around the world and who make it so appealing to the human hearts. And so that's why young people are so very much in love with it. Like the rap. Like rap music in the United States. It appeals to young people, although its thematic concerns are different. They're more concerned about the social and political issues, whereas Kunqu may not be. Kunqu may be very much concerned with the human and with the historical and perhaps the art.
Political climate may change across the Straits, but over the past 20 years, it seems that the passion for our common cultural, literary roots sustained. What is your expectations for the coming future and the role that literature and art and people-to-people exchanges can play to enrich ourselves despite the obstacles that may be facing us?
Yeah, one thing I'd like to point out at this point is that people on both sides of the streets have been managing this very relationship in such a successful way through art and literature, which actually plays a major role in overcoming the kind of a political divide, the divisiveness across the Taiwan Straits. And another thing that came to my mind at the moment is, even before we do this interview, is that art and literature are actually providing this very moment of truth. It's all about our common humanity, our common cultural legacy, and that eventually, in a sense, may help us to overcome the hurdles, the barriers of all kinds on our way to unification and to a common family.